The topics we're going to raise is who we are, how we work, the fact that beyond this being a law that companies need to comply with, it can be a benefit for reputation and competition, and shortly on the Consumer Authority's feedback on the EU proposal that we've heard of a couple of times today. So we're going to start with who we are, the Consumer Authority. So we are an independent administrative body under the Ministry of Children and Family Affairs. And we are a public enforcement authority. And our two main areas of responsibility is supervision with the laws. So we're going to supervise the Transparency Act, which is entering into force this summer, but we also work with dispute resolution. We're approximately 110 employees in 4 different cities, our headquarters being in Porsgrunn. You can see a picture of our headquarters here on the slide. You may wonder why it is the Consumer Authority that has gotten the task of supervising the Transparency Act. First of all, it is clear that lack of enforcement and sanction opportunities have proven to be a weakness in similar regulations in other countries. So there's clearly need that there's a clear need for enforcement. Secondly, as we've heard today, any person will be able to request information, and we think that consumers can become a force for ethical consumption through their requests for information from companies. Also, the Consumer Authority has a long experience with requirements regarding marketing, which are similar to the requirements that will follow from the Transparency Act. So we have experience in this working method, and which is also proven to be effective and will also be relevant in working with this act. We are a new team and got the task assigned January this year. We are a group of 11 people at the moment with different backgrounds, and a big part of our time has been used at building competence within the field, because this is a new act also for us. At the same time, the section is experiencing that there's a great need for clarification of expectations among various actors. So we are doing our best to guide enterprises alongside building our own competence. We work through guidance, monitoring, and enforcement. In Section 8 of the Act, it's written that the Consumer Authority shall, by way of general information, advice, and guidance, work to ensure that the purpose of the Act is complied with. We have dialogue as our primary working method and have broad experience within this. And this comes with something called the negotiation model, which implies that we strive for the fact that businesses comply with the law voluntarily without us having to use sanctions, for instance. And we understand that this is a new act, and that businesses and enterprises need time to familiarize themselves with the new provisions. And we think that having an open dialogue is the way to go, because if the enterprises are open and transparent with us with their work and also the challenges they're facing, it will be easier for them to actually work towards giving practical information and being transparent about the actual conditions, rather than the Transparency Act only becoming a theoretical reporting obligation, which is something we don't want to. Also, therefore, we do not expect everything to be in place from the start. We just expect businesses and enterprises to start with the work and be open about how far they've come, and also according to these 6 steps that has been shown to in the 2 previous slides today. So when improving the actual conditions is our goal, this is also reflected in the Act Section 9, which says that the Consumer Authority's supervision is based on the interest of promoting enterprises' respect for fundamental human rights and decent working conditions. Currently, we provide information and guidance through several platforms. There is a lot of information on our website, and this will soon be updated with information in English as well. Feel free to contact us by email. We also have a lot of meetings with different actors, and this is something we use to gain knowledge and experience ourselves, because through dialogue, we as a consumer authority also learn the challenges that the businesses and enterprises are facing regarding this act. So feel free also to ask questions afterwards. We're also at conferences, webinars, podcasts, seminars such as this one today. And we also have a very close cooperation with the Norwegian OECD contact point that had the previous presentation, and are very thankful for that because they have long experience in providing guidance. So they're guiding us in our work with guidance. So we're grateful for that. If we do not reach through to enterprises through dialogue, we may ask enterprises to provide information to us, and this is an obligation, and this is so that the Consumer Authority can supervise the Transparency Act. The duty applies irrespective of the duty of confidentiality, but there are some exemptions in the Act Section 6 and also in the Norwegian Criminal Procedure Act. If the companies do not act according to the law, as mentioned, dialogue is our primary working method, but in some cases, and especially in cases of clear and repeated breaches of the law, we may have to use enforcement penalties. And I'm not going to go into details of what these imply, but the three penalties that may be used are decision, enforcement penalty, and infringement penalty. But something that is more cause of concern than these sanctions, we could say, is the risk of loss of reputation for an enterprise if they do not act in accordance with the Transparency Act, because we all know that a good reputation equals a good business. Also, enterprises promoting respect for fundamental human rights and decent working conditions will also have a competitive advantage because we see that consumers, investors, and traders are more and more conscious about making ethical choices. As mentioned, there's a wave of international laws that's going on at the moment, and there's also coming something on the EU level. So the fact that Norway is one of the first countries to have such a law gives a Norwegian company an advantage and can be used as promoting enterprises in an international market, we assume. As it has been mentioned, there is a proposal for a directive from the Commission, and they had a deadline on feedback last Monday, and the Consumer Authority in Norway came with some feedback on this. Overall, we think it's a great initiative, but we would like to see that the directive is even more in line with the international guidelines, because this will avoid fragmentation. And since we assume that several companies already have been following the international guidelines, having the EU as similar to the international guidelines will mean more harmonization and less fragmentation. There is no duty to provide information in the proposal, which is something we think that the proposal could benefit from. And also the proposal mentions initiative for a European network of supervisory authorities, which we warmly welcome. But the proposal doesn't go into details on how national authorities should work and supervise the directive. So we have come with some comments on how we do it based on our experience so far. Summarized, we recommend enterprises to get started, be ready to receive inquiries, establish guidelines, and map and assess risk. As said, we will be here to guide and to have dialogue with enterprises and businesses, but extensive and clear violations of the law will be dealt with. And I think it's very important that we always keep the purpose of the law in mind. Why do we do this? And this is to better the lives of people in vulnerable positions. That's it for me. Thank you very much.